Good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to today's Women United Zoom event. This will be our third one this year, and I'm confident that it will be our best yet. This is in large part thanks to your feedback regarding both the format and topics we discuss. Today, we have a wonderful panel assembled to speak to us about food security in our community. The agencies will speak about their programs, how they have adapted in the face of the COVID pandemic, and how we can continue to support them as they continue to support those in need. They have also kindly provided us with videos to visually illustrate the profound positive impact the agencies are having on our community. We are very excited for the question and answer portion of this event, as the dialogue during this part of the event often stimulates the most thought-provoking and mindful takeaways. So once again, thank you for joining us and welcome.
Thanks, Jessica. Jessica and Jane are co-chairs of the Women United Initiative, and we have many committee members on the call as well. You probably saw Jessica and Jane in their lovely little video appearance that was sent to all of you. If not, we'll send you a link so you can watch them invite you. But all seriousness, we really are appreciative that all of you have taken the time to learn more about the issues. We've heard from you that you really want to understand what's happening in our community. And one of the really significant issues that's facing our community is food security. And food security has always been on our radar, especially as the United Way. It's something that's part of a lot of programs that we fund. It's part of the meal programs that we provide people who are homeless and vulnerable. But what really came to light was when the pandemic hit. And we've always known that a lot of people are just on the margin, on the brink of having a challenge. And we've often talked about that. But during the pandemic, this really came to light. So to give you an example, when the pandemic started, pre-pandemic, we used to kind of keep track, the United likes and loves numbers. And we used to track about 500 to 600 meals in a week, 5 days a week. But now it's really shocking to see that it's great that we are able to serve them, but we are now as a community serving 1,700 meals a day. Additionally, we're providing over 3,000 hampers and food boxes to people in need. And these are students, these are seniors, these are people on low income. You'll hear more about that. We also have a really robust group of people who are working hard with volunteers and agencies together to provide food to students in elementary and high school. Their families find it really hard to make ends meet. So principals and educators are identifying families, and food is being delivered to many children who would otherwise have had a healthy meal in school. The other thing that's really important is to note that our agencies are really focused on healthy meals, because a lot of people, especially when they are on low income, cannot afford fresh food, fruit and vegetables. The seniors food box, which you'll hear more about, one of the ladies who came to the door started crying because she had not seen, this is a senior, she had not seen fresh fruit or food in weeks and months. So again, it's really down to the basics right now. And it's horrifying, it's heartbreaking to think that in a country like Canada, in a community like Kingston, we have people who would otherwise go hungry. I cannot say enough about how our community has been able to respond to the needs. These are exponential needs. These are really significant numbers. Going from 500 a week to 1,700 a day requires a lot of persistence, tenacity, innovation and creativity just to make that happen. And then the food boxes on top of that. It's a whole system that's coming together. Every week we have a weekly call where the agencies get together. And for most of us, that's a really uplifting time, because during that call, which Sean actually facilitates, we learn more about where the needs are, how we can help each other, what's missing, what needs to be done. It's an army of people really dedicated, committed. And I really, at the United Way, cannot say enough about the privilege of working with people like some of the people you'll hear from today, some of the leaders in this industry. We haven't got everyone here because that would probably take us all night and you'd be out of all the wine that you're drinking right now by the end of it. But what we want, I'm serious, we actually want to make sure that we acknowledge some of the work of some agencies who were not able to be here today, like Isthmus, Food Sharing Project, who feed thousands of students and their families. every week, every month. So again, we will be starting with a panel. We will start Sean Sargent, who, in case you haven't noticed, is the only male in the crowd, and we're thrilled that he is here with us. Sean Sargent is a volunteer. He's the operations manager of Lionhearts, who many of you have heard about. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Sean, who's shown great leadership. Your organization's done amazing work through this pandemic. And I just wanted to give you a shout out for all that you personally have done as well. So Sean, over to you.
Avna, thank you for that. Really appreciate the time to be here with you all. It is truly a privilege to be here speaking to people who actually have an interest in this subject. And food security in its entirety, I believe, is a precursor to homelessness. And if we can actually do some work in and around food insecurity in our communities, we are actually going to be fighting against homelessness in a major way, taking that impact there and stopping it before it even begins. And for us, that actually began about 6 years ago. We started with a small group of friends looking for some answers to helping some of the agencies that were already doing some really great work in our community. And we found out that there was a lot of food in the Kingston region that was available, just really had a hard time with the logistics of getting it to people. And so that's what we did. About 6 years ago, we decided that we would actually take minutes and figure out how we could get some of that food to those agencies that were already doing the great work. And that first year, we rescued about $484,000 worth of food. A few years later, we found ourselves with a few delivery vans, a very large number of volunteers, and about $2.3 million worth of food on an annual basis. And this last year, we're just tallying up right now for 2020, and it's over 3 million right now, and we still have a few weeks yet to go. So we know it's there. There's lots of opportunity here to actually be able to take great food and invest it right back into the programs of those agencies who are already fighting the good fight. And you're going to hear from some of them. You're going to hear from Rhonda later and how innovative they've become over the last number of months, and how Helen and Kathy have just really ramped up their entire programs. It's remarkable. And it's that part of it is the partnerships between all of the different organizations in Kingston that have made a difference. And we start to take a look at some of those things, and StatsCan did some really great reporting in May of this year to take a look at food insecurity in our communities and to find out what was actually going on pre-pandemic and into the middle of at least into the beginning of the pandemic. And so we're seeing a spike of 39% in household insecurity, food insecurity in our communities. That changed the ballgame completely. It actually gives us a 1 in 7 households during the pandemic that are experiencing things that are pretty tough right now. And that's where we actually decided we needed to figure out something. We actually had to figure out how we would move from doing the logistics of getting large quantities of food to individuals in our community. It was tough. It was hard to pivot. And we actually needed a lot of help at the beginning. And the United Way came through in a big way for us to be able to make this actual whole program possible. So we're going to take a few moments right now and just sort of show you a little bit about what we're doing today as opposed to what we were doing before. I think Sophie has a nice little video for us.
Welcome to Lionhearts Food Distribution Center. This is ground zero for everything that Lionhearts does. So follow me, we'll go take a look. So the gym has been set up for a couple of months now in order to prepare meals and food packages for the folks at the 4 different locations that Lionhearts has served during COVID-19. So what we have here is we have 13 tables that are set up in groups of 25. The morning shift that comes in at 9:30 comes in to start the preparation of the red bags. The red bags contain some of the essential items that are distributed at the park, at KCHC, at Amersfoort, and in Napanee. So they come in the morning and they place a utensil in the bag. We've got food items from Cobb's Bakery that Cobb's donates to us. That goes into the bag also. We always provide a bottle of water in every bag. And there is also a care package that volunteers here at Lionhearts puts together. So that is what our morning crew does. They come in and they set up this bag. Our afternoon crew, who just finished for today, goes to the kitchen, checks our boards over at the back there to see how many meals we need for the day. And they will put in the actual meal that comes in a plastic container, and they pop it into the bag, tie up the bags, and then these bags, 25 on each table, get packed into these Rubbermaid totes. And I don't know if you can see behind me, but there is a whole lot of totes. It's a whole lot of plastic here, but this is what everything gets packed into. 12 bags go into each tote. These totes are then packed by the 5 o'clock crew that comes in specifically to pack the truck that will go down to McBurney Park. What seems like garbage bags are actually clothing items that have been donated to Lionhearts through Kingston Street Mission. Those items will get sorted and then will get put into the bins. The bins will go downtown to the park, where folks that grab a meal can also ask for clothing items, the hygiene, the masks, whatever we have. As long as we have it, we're happy to offer it to the folks that are there. We do buy in bulk, as you can imagine. If we've got about 700 meals that we serve a day, we do buy in bulk from a couple of different locations here in Kingston. So we've got bulk oatmeal, we've got fruit stations, applesauce, fruit cups, granola bars. It all comes to the gym. From here, we do send it out to 2 other locations where they will pack their own red bags. They will take care of what they need to put together for their site. And that's what a basic day in Lionhearts looks like. So last I heard, we were probably around day 155. 83,000 meals have been served. So Lionhearts would like to thank the United Way for their very timely response and their generous contributions so that we could get up and running here at Ground Zero when COVID-19 arrived to Kingston, and we were all so quickly dispatched in different ways to do different things. We at Lionhearts thank you, United Way, for your help in helping us help our community.
Well, it's been a while since that video was filmed. As of a couple of nights ago, we've actually bumped up to 150,000 meals. That was just 2 nights ago that we crossed that threshold. So it's a big part, again, with the support of all the different agencies in town, with all the different partners, the Kingston businesses that have been donating like crazy, and really the leadership and the instant response that we've actually seen from the United Way this year in so many different areas. We would not have been able to do what we're doing without their help in getting started. And I just really wanted to commend you guys for the work you're doing all the time, all year long. And just to remind everyone that this year is special. We know that from so many different aspects of things, but this year is the year that we're really going to need to dig deep and to really help the rest of our community. We still have many, many months to go, and this is the time to just think about how we might be able to help. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sean. And also, I think a lot of people may have read in the newspaper, but they are now offering walkthrough meals. Is that what you called it, at Stages? So they've converted Stages into a place where they can distribute meals. They've also, and it didn't come through in the video, but I just wanted to mention, they also provide a lot of meals and food to Lennox and Addington. So Morningstar Mission is able to serve 1,200 meals a week, only because of thanks to Sean and his crew, who actually go every week with food, and then Morningstar can start distributing them. So it's not just Kingston, it's also the surrounding counties. So, yeah. And how many meals a day are you up to? About 800, was it?
Yeah, we're serving just under 800 average. Some meals, some days it's 1,200, 1,300, some days it's 600, 700, but it's quite a few.
Yeah, thank you. And I neglected to mention to everyone, please feel free to add your questions to the chat. After we've been through all the presentations, we will certainly take your questions and direct them to the agencies. So you will get a chance to ask Sean any questions that you may have. Our next panelists are Helen Maberly and Kathy. Did I get that right? Sorry, I think I'm moving too quickly. I'm moving to Rhonda Candy. Rhonda is the executive director of Martha's Table. And Martha's Table is a great example of how an agency really turned around and found creative ways to make their guests feel welcome. One of the things that we learned through our meal programs is how much compassion and caring and thought our agencies put into making people feel welcome and connected. And the United Way vision is helping people live with hope, dignity, and sense of a belonging. And Martha's Table really epitomizes an agency that looks for that, as do all our other agencies. But Rhonda, do you want to share some of the things that you've been able to do at Martha's Table?
Sure. Thanks for those kind words. And I would also like to say, Lionhearts, great job. You know, it's a community effort. So doing so much work together is always inspiring. And I've been with Martha's Table since 2008. And I am just as excited today as I was 12 years ago. It's rewarding to be active and part of the social service network in our city. There's so much need. Food insecurity is often something that is, you know, for a variety of reasons, hidden. People go hungry unnecessarily. So every day here, and I'm sure in other agencies, it's an opportunity to affect change. And that's what keeps me coming back. And I know our team, we all feel the same. We want to make lives a bit better, help people gain or regain their footing. So in a little bit more about that, over the years, I've been asked, why do you think so many people need help? And it's a fair question if you're learning about the situation, but in my opinion, only based on observations and interactions with participants, it's mental health. In varying degrees, it's the largest common underlying factor for those that live with food insecurity. I mean, living in hunger, you're hungry every day. It has a physical and a mental impact. A little bit of the science, children that live with food insecurity are at greater risk of depression and negative thoughts, hyperactivity, and inattention, diabetes, asthma. And as Sean mentioned, 1 in 7 households are currently food insecure. That's a lot of people. Adults living within those households account for 1 in 3 hospitalizations due to mental health problems. So when you're dealing with these multiple concerns, mental or physical health issues, addictions or homelessness, it's really hard to maintain a healthy diet or to even prepare your own food. It's a really vicious cycle. I think if we can understand the who, why, and how of food insecurity and mental health, we're going to reduce the stigma associated with the need to reach out for help. And that's a big thing. Stigma is a hurdle for so many people in our communities and across the country. If we can reduce that, we're going to be well on our way, I think, again, just my opinion, to resolving the problems that result in having less food than needed. One of my favorite quotes, you may have heard it, but I think it's so relevant and clearly summarizes the struggle, is Virginia Woolf. And she says, one cannot think well, love well, sleep well if one has not dined well. So that's the cycle that many people find themselves in. And so Martha's Table, a bit of our history, the founders saw these needs, and since 1997, we've been serving food and friendship. Social service, our social center is equally important as our restaurant. We believe in a warm welcome and inclusiveness and safety. We provided access to computers and phones and classes and workshops and self-help things. And pre-pandemic, of course, we served breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And a portion of our day was dedicated by choice to interacting with participants, helping them connect and find expert supports. And we offered a mental health professional when possible on staff to offer assistance and guidance. And the United Way helped us with this professional, put her in place. And we can't thank them enough for that support, because I can tell you for sure in at least one instance, that person was able to intervene and prevent a suicide attempt. So the need is real. And the United Way has made those impacts directly in the community. At the onset of the pandemic, we had to pivot really quickly and safely. Both had to be paramount in our minds, fast and safe. On March 16th, after our usual busy day, we closed our doors. And on the 17th, we came in and said, okay, now we've got a deal. We scrambled a little bit. We looked for takeout containers and put in safety barriers, but we managed. On the 17th, we were serving a takeout meal to anyone that came to the door. So, and we've continued every single day since then. During the summer, thanks to United Way support, we set up an outdoor patio where people could dine and socialize safely. We know social isolation is so detrimental, and this was an important addition. So then it got cold, right? So the weather is not going to be in our favor, and I don't want to live in Florida anymore. With further support from United Way, we installed a winterized tent, and that has a propane heater. So we know it's being well utilized, and guests are warming themselves and finding some respite from the cold weather. We also extended our days of service from 5 to 7. So again, with the increased need for meals and service, we just knew this was the time to do it. The next level of support we plan to offer is a door-to-door meal delivery service. We're going to start slow and build up. We know there's a lot of people out there that are at high risk and for a variety of reasons simply can't leave their homes. So we're going to try to connect with these folks and get them some nutrition. A brief story that I think sort of encompasses the need or underscores the need for prepared meals is 2009, I met a single father, 2 young boys. He brought them to Martha's because he struggled to maintain employment, and he knew he could offset his income and support his family with the meals. He took on handyman jobs, but he struggled to maintain them. He had some mental health issues, and the boys often said, they didn't mind going to the restaurant because, they enjoyed being in the space. And we were really relieved and comfortable knowing that they were comfortable. I've watched them grow and mature, and they're really nice young men. So I think Dad did a pretty good job. He was raising them single-handedly, had to learn how to cook. So he's really happy to have those meals as well as the financial support. But he said to me, by knowing where and when to reach out for help, he kept his family together. So that was a big deal and impacted those lives directly. So, we continue to rely on our community for services, for funding our services. And I'd like to thank United Way for their support over the years, and truly, especially in 2020, during this pandemic. They have been so quick to recognize the need in the community and act in decisive ways. They've even helped people connect with each other. It's not just financial support they're offering. They're a great resource in our city. And I will just say, Sean, you could repeat yourself and say, this is the year we need to dig deep. It's an important thing that we're all doing. And I've used the phrase, it takes a village, and it really, really does. When community comes together, we will succeed in the goal, whatever that goal may be. And I'm maybe biased, but food insecurity is a topic near and dear to my heart. And it can be eradicated, but it's going to take that group effort. It really is. So I would like to say thank you for inviting me to share a bit of my experiences and what Martha's is doing. And I'll take just 2 more seconds and say, I am now formally swearing you all in as our newest village members. So thank you for your time.
You're so right, Rhonda. It takes a village. Sorry, I think the sound. One of the things that we have also acknowledged is how well our agencies work together. When they're applying for funding or when they're looking for resources, it's always about sharing. It's not about, well, I need more takeout containers, so I'm not going to share my source with you. They work so well together. So we have meal programs delivered by Lionhearts, by Martha's Table. We have Lunch by George. We have Morning Star Mission in Napanee. We have St. Vincent de Paul in Kingston. It's wonderful to see the power of all people working together, especially when there are large donations of eggs or milk or something. They immediately spring into action and just help each other. And it's wonderful to see. It's really poetry in motion when you watch all of them come together and work so beautifully together. So thank you for all that you do. I'm going to turn it over to Helen Maberly and Kathy Sturmey. Helen is both of them are with Kingston Community Health Centers. And you'll hear a little bit more about how good food boxes and seniors food boxes came, well, good food boxes were already in existence, how seniors food boxes came into being. And I know some of you around the table today have had a role in that, so thank you for that. But Helen, I'll turn it over to you now.
Thanks, Pavna. Thank you so much, folks, for inviting us tonight. I think the issue of food security, like with Sean and Rhonda, is very near and dear to our hearts. KCHC can't look at health without looking at food security. You know, Rhonda, you mentioned 1 in 3 hospitalizations and the role that food security plays in keeping people healthy. One of the programs that we had pre-COVID was a program called the Good Food Box. It was a little bit different than the other programs you've heard about tonight, in that it was a way that people could access affordable produce. So what happened is at 29 sites across the city, people would purchase a Good Food Box at the beginning of the month and take delivery of it in the middle of the month. Volunteers would get the food from Diodato, break it down from large cases of produce into small orders that could go out in the community. What it allowed us to do really was be a bulk buying club and provide produce at reduced costs in the community, which we have been doing for close to 25 years. Then the next thing we knew, COVID hit. And suddenly all those 29 agencies that we had been working with were not necessarily all open, and we couldn't do what we were doing. So we quickly pivoted to an online platform for our customers who ordered their Good Food Boxes online. And we partnered with our friends at Loving Spoonful and their volunteer drivers, and we began to deliver those food boxes door to door. But what we quickly realized is that many people who had been ordering from us, who were the working poor in our community, were no longer able to get those boxes. They couldn't afford them. So with the help of United Way, we're providing 250 free Good Food Boxes throughout the community. And again, they are delivered door to door. So United Way knew we had been doing some of this work. At the meantime, Pavna had been getting phone calls, and the United Way retirees were a huge help to us in looking at establishing something called the Seniors Food Box. There was a real need in the community. Seniors were told shelter at home, stay at home, and they could not get out to get groceries. And many in our community could not afford the groceries. So building on the Good Food Box, we have a box that has fresh produce and a number of dry goods, staple dry goods. And we partnered with our friends from Diodato and Grand Snow Frills and Hogan's Apiaries to put together those boxes. We thought we'd do about 200 boxes a month. Within no time, we were up to 400 boxes a month because the need was great in our community. I think the best way for me to describe the program to you is to tell you the story of one of our very own volunteers here at KCHC. We have a senior lady who volunteers at our front desk every week. She is retired because of health problems, but still likes to be a little bit involved in her community and volunteering. I knew her. I said good morning to her every single morning. We certainly let her know about the program that was available. And recently she stopped me and wanted to have a conversation with me about the Seniors Food Box. She shared with me that her income is $1,300 a month. She gets a mix of funding from ODSP and CPP. She also told me that her rent is $800 a month. And Sean, you alluded to homelessness earlier, and it's a big issue.
Yeah.
Her rent's $800, and then she pays utilities on top of that. She has approximately $300 left at the end of the month. This is a lady who lives above a retail outlet, and so I've delivered to her personally. She's about 14 steps up to get to her unit, and she walks with a cane, and she's type 2 diabetic. She told me that thanks to getting the Seniors Food Box, she's got produce in her house. She hasn't had it in a long time. And she also told me that her type 2 diabetes has been under control for the last 5 months. And she said a lot of that has to do with being able to get fresh produce and fresh food into her home. And here's somebody I walked by all day, folks, and I knew her and I knew she was struggling, but I had no idea the impact of what she was struggling with. So your dollars go a long way in really helping people. And like everyone has said tonight, anything we can do to help, let's try to do it. As a community, I hope we can do that. It's now my honor to introduce Kathy Sturmey. Kathy is the magic behind the Good Food Box program and the Seniors Food Box. It's Kathy and her team of volunteers that make the magic happen. I get to manage the program, but if it wasn't for her dedication and the dedications of volunteers, it wouldn't happen. And Kathy will talk a little bit to some of the stats, and then I think we have a little video to show you. So I'll pass it over to Kathy.
Thank you for that, Helen, and those kind words. And I'd also like to say thank you for inviting me today to speak to you. This is a very important subject to me. I've been working in food security and food access programs since 2008. Prior to March 13th, Friday, March 13th, I was coordinating 2 affordable food access programs. And on that day, everything was canceled at KCHC, including the Good Food Stand and the Good Food Box, my 2 programs. The next Monday, Helen and I put our heads together and started looking at what the Good Food Box could look like if we brought it back. As Helen mentioned, it was in a unique position because we had 25 years of experience of delivering healthy fruit and vegetables in the community. So we thought, what are we going to do? All the host sites had closed down. So we decided that we would deliver boxes to people across the city. And our partners in Napanee and Sydenham joined us to continue to deliver even more produce out into the rural areas. Our first box of a blended program of affordable access plus 250 fully funded boxes was packed and delivered on April 16th. As Helen mentioned, we put together an incredible team of dedicated volunteers from Loving Spoonful, Limestone District School Board, United Retirees, redeployed KCHC staff, and since then we've delivered 2,422 boxes and over 52,000 pounds of fruit and vegetables through this program. Tomorrow, we will be delivering 402 boxes from as far as east of the base to Napanee and Denbigh, which is north of Cloyne. We deliver to newcomers, members of the Indigenous community, low-income families, seniors, students, and many, many others. While we were doing that, United Way was picking up phone calls from senior groups looking for a way to connect to the most vulnerable in the community during the pandemic, and that was seniors. The senior box was developed and ready to go before our first Good Food Box even went out the door. This program has been an eye-opener, and it is definitely a highlight for many of our volunteers. As Helen mentioned, we delivered to 400 seniors. We're at our limit now, and that's within the city limit. We also include a little jar of local honey with a selection of fruits and vegetables and dry goods, because we love to spoil the seniors. And not only is it a sweet treat, it's healthy. To date, for this program, we have delivered 2,818 boxes, over 70,000 pounds of food. And next week will put us over 3,000 boxes to the seniors. The response we've had from our seniors has been overwhelming. They are so grateful for the food and for the connection with our drivers and our desire to keep them safely at home. Our seniors range in age from 55 to 96. On average, they're 67.5 years old, and 70% of them are women. They live in apartments, they live in senior residences, houses, motels, and one even lives in a trailer. We hope not for much longer. They have mental and physical health challenges. Some struggle with isolation, while others live in very crowded situations. They're always grateful to see us, even though we know that some of them are really struggling. Like Rhonda said, mental health is big issues, even for our seniors. By pairing our drivers with regular routes, they have developed a strong rapport with many of those seniors. And for some, it is an element of trust. Sometimes, like many times, it isn't just the food that we're delivering to people. Food insecurity is a pressing issue for many in our community. StatsCan says 65% of people working in low-paying jobs or precariously employed experience some degree of food insecurity every month. and 1/3 of single female parent households struggle with food insecurity. That's big. Those are national numbers, but 25,000 people in KFL&A live below the poverty line, and many, many more are living on minimum wages. And this was before the pandemic. So thank you for inviting me to participate in this discussion, and thank you for your interest in food insecurity. In closing, I'd just like to thank Pavna and the team, Kim, at United Way. They were already leaders in this movement prior to COVID, but during this time, their leadership has allowed us, the boots on the ground, to pivot quickly to meet those demands. And we thank them and you for your support of the United Way, because they have been terrific leaders. So thanks for listening.
Thanks, Kathy, Helen. I think, Sophie, we have a video for the food boxes. Yeah.
Local love in response. In the first 4 months of the pandemic, 42,000 people were helped in KFL&A. $1.6 million of special COVID-19 funding has been invested in 87 local programs. This is in addition to regular funding provided to 30 partner agencies to adapt and deliver programs.
Hi, I'm Kathy Sturmey, and it's Thursday morning at Kingston Community Health Centers, and we're packing the senior food box today. Early on in the pandemic, it became very clear that the most vulnerable people were seniors, and their biggest concerns were food security and in isolation. We worked with the United Way and came up with the senior food box, a combination of fresh fruits and vegetables and dried goods, which we deliver every other week to seniors in Kingston area.
It's really important that we try and keep our seniors engaged and well looked after, and I think this is just one small way of being able to do that, giving them good food and having some conversation with them and having some communication with outside of their little four walls. So yeah, I think it's really impactful.
The project is funded by our local United Way, KFL&A, as well as the Government of Canada and New Horizons for Seniors project. So that funds the program. But honestly, we could not do it without our community partners. The produce and the staple items that are going out are worth about $35 each order. But thanks to the support of community partners, the cost to us is about $25. That's because of great supporters like Diodato Foods, as well as No Frills Grants. No Frills has helped us a lot, as has Hogan's Apiaries in terms of getting food available at reasonable prices for our folks. And then we couldn't do it without Loving Spoonful. Loving Spoonful has a great team of drivers that come in every week and pick up the food and make sure that it gets delivered to our seniors, as well as the amazing staff here at KCHC. The community development team has put together the boxes and make sure that they get packed and out to everybody, along with some of our other community staff here at KCHC. So we've been really fortunate to be able to step up and help folks.
I've been delivering seniors food boxes since it started, and the seniors are very appreciative of the food and the contact, the social contact. They look forward to the visit, and it's been a really worthwhile endeavor.
With your support, agencies and programs can continue to meet immediate needs and help the most vulnerable members of our community. Donate today. www.unitedwaykfla.ca/donate. Thank you for your local.
That was a voice of our sponsored employee. He's got a radio voice. He actually does radio, so it's a little unnerving to see it come out of the TV, so off the laptop. So thank you very much for that. I also did want to mention that we've got a couple of people around the table, our Retirees United volunteers. They actually make phone calls to seniors, let them know the box is coming. They helped design the program with the co-design with Helen, and we're really grateful that they do this. But again, it has highlighted a need that we weren't fully aware of, which is a lot of seniors who are living in low income and probably afraid to tell us that they were, because we've never reached out before in such significant numbers. We will play one more video to wrap up our panel, but before we do that, I just wanted to mention that we are working together as a community to come up with some long-term solutions. A lot of these solutions, as you can tell, have been parachuted in really quickly, really rapid response, amazing work from our agencies. We should also mention the incredible work the food bank is doing, trying to cope with the demand. Everyone's working together, but we are looking long-term, and we are looking at something like a centralized hub, a warehouse, where in Helen's vision, we'd also have a kitchen and serve, but as a basic, at least we'd have a place where we could store food, so it could go stretch further, where we'd have a large freezer space. And I know that's Sean's dream to have this. I think Dan and Sean together is a 40 square foot or 400 square foot freezer or something, but we are working towards that, and we will make it happen, because these needs are great and food security is really important. It's certainly, the pandemic has highlighted it. It's something we always knew about, but before the next pandemic or before we have the next crisis, we want to make sure our community is ready and we can deal with it. So I'm going to wrap up our food panel discussion. I know I'll hand it over to Jane in a minute with a little sequence from Martha's Table, so you can see some of the great work that they and their volunteers do. So Sophie, thank you. Jane, over to you now.
Thanks, Bhavna. I just wanted to take a moment to really thank Sean and Kathy and Helen and Rhonda for joining us today, just to share the work that you're doing in our community. I think the videos have been an excellent touch, so thank you as well for bringing those today. You know, Sue Bates and I were talking before we signed on tonight, and we were just talking about what we do in a day, what everybody does in a day, and then we were trying to imagine doing that without food. Sorry, that gets me when I think about it. And so when Sean talks about this is 1 in 7 households in our community, Rhonda talks about people living in hunger. Sorry, it really did hit me. Helen says about the working poor. Kathy talks about 72% of the seniors are women. This is us, this is our community. And so thank you for the work that you're doing, but also to the women that have joined us today, because Women United really is here because we're engaged with our community, and our community matters to us. So I just wanted to say thank you to the speakers. I think it was Helen that said Kathy is the magic behind. I think each of you are the magic behind, so thank you for that. Angie, I'm going to turn it over to you just to say a few words as well.
Thank you so much, and thank you very much for this informative discussion on food security. You know, and thank you to all of you for coming together today to learn and then listen about such an important topic. As already noted, that food security is such a single most pressing issue that's facing our community, affecting, like we said, students and seniors and families. And in addition, the pandemic has exacerbated the situation for those most vulnerable amongst us. As we've mentioned, the homelessness, those suffering from addictions and mental health concerns. And I echo what impresses me the most is about how our community comes together to help those in need. Collaboration and innovation certainly is key. I've had the privilege of being part of a number of community discussion groups where we talk about the trends that we are seeing, each of us from our own unique vantage points, and updating on what our agencies are accomplishing and struggling with. And the formation of the vulnerable sector group is one such example that comes together. It came together actually very early on, where food security was top of mind. It's important to learn about the needs that exist within our community and then to be able to do something about it through United Way funding. New food delivery strategies were informed by public health. New safety protocols and procedures were put in place, including pickup services and so much more. We have heard pre-COVID statistics in terms of the 400 to 500 meals delivered per week, and now serving over 1,700 meals per day and delivering 3,300 food boxes per month for those in need. This could never have been accomplished without the commitment, passion, and resolve of our community partners and volunteers, and building on the strong foundation of United Way, where we leave no one behind. On another note, the Kingston Police have recently entered into a partnership with the Rapid Relief Team, an organization with teams positioned around the world, and it's comprised also of volunteers dedicated to assisting those in crisis and providing emergency and disaster relief, as well as support services for disadvantaged children and families. In 2020, they launched an initiative called Rapid Relief Team Food Boxes, and it's for families in need who are experiencing food insecurity. So the RRT Kingston local team leader, Travis McCamley, attended Kingston Police Headquarters to deliver a supply of these food boxes so that frontline officers who are responding to calls in the community will be able to pass on emergency needs for families who may be in crisis and could benefit from receiving a food box on the spot. Each package contains a variety of non-perishable long-life food products. Victim Services of Kingston and Frontenac will also have an additional supply at their disposal to provide to clients in need. I am so very pleased also to be part of Women United to help contribute to our community in such a significant way. This year's co-chairs, Jane and Jessica, have been building on last year's successes about members wanting to learn more about the issues in our community and providing a forum for learning and sharing opinions and facilitating discussions that will shape our future. There's a lot of passion, compassion, and genuine desire to further educate ourselves on the very real issues that are facing our communities. And today's panel discussion highlighted what's being done to ensure our most vulnerable have access to healthy food in our community. So we've got 8 days left before United Way touches down on the 26th of November, but we know that United Way never stops, and so we continue on throughout the years. And we've seen that every donation makes a difference. And it's impressive to see our local love in action as we continue investing in our community. So thank you very much to everyone and for all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. We're very fortunate to have you as our campaign chair this year. So we're hoping that there's some questions, and I guess you can either send them by typing them into the chat, or if you just want to take yourself off mute and raise your hand and ask away. Yeah, Lisa, go ahead.
No, it's first of all, thank you to everybody, and I really appreciate those videos. It really brought it to life for me. Somehow there are some agencies I have not yet visited, and it was those ones. Perhaps, Pavna, you sent them to us in an email. My email's been a little bit crazy lately. Is there a way we can get access to those links? Because I would really like to share those. People hear the name Lionheart and they're like, wait, what's that? Or Martha's Table, and they have preconceived notions. I tell you, after seeing the Martha's Table one, I want to go eat there. The food looked amazing. I've had a pretty good idea of what they serve, but it's good to see how healthy it is and the variety of what they served. Yeah, and I just saw the link there. Thank you for that. I didn't actually have a question. That was what I was looking for.
Yeah, we have lots of videos. We have virtual tours and panel discussions on that website. Caroline's asked a question about school kids and how to meet their needs. It's great that you asked that question because that's a focus. We weren't able to bring them to the panel discussion today, but Food Sharing Project and Isthmus are working very closely with Lionhearts, with food boxes, with everyone. And we are making sure that food is being provided to children. Food Sharing has told us they can no longer provide the same kind of meal program in schools that they used to be able to because of some of the restrictions, health restrictions. So what they're doing is working with educators to identify families, and they're delivering food boxes to the families, but they continue to serve in schools. They continue to serve non-perishable, kind of safe, individually wrapped food. It's a little more expensive, but it's definitely something the communities come together to support. I don't know, Sean, if you had anything to add to that.
That's actually a really impressive program itself, right? Being able to pivot and being able to actually take what was an in-school program with volunteers there and finding out how to actually get that to those students. We all know that teachers know their kids well. They know their families, they know the best way. So it's an amazing screening process that they've created. And it's a lot of fun to actually see those boxes go out and to see the difference, the impact that it has on those families. We're seeing it in the neighborhoods that we're serving, just in that families come up now and talk about this amazing box. And it'd be simple things in those boxes that you or I would see, but they're luxury items to them, just beaming with excitement. So it's pretty impressive.
I might add, as principal at Bay Ridge, we access the food bank, or the food sharing project quite a bit. And they've done a super job, certainly during the pandemic, just what Sean, you were talking about, the way we were able to identify families within each of our schools and get them what they needed through the pandemic. But now that students are back, the food sharing project's doing a wonderful job of individually wrapped muffins, applesauce, granola bars, drinks. And kids are still accessing it. Yes, they miss the veggies and hummus that we used to be able to do, but they are still finding what they need. And the food sharing project does a great job. We're able to access it in different ways depending on programs. So it's alive and well in all of our schools.
Thanks, Heather, for that. It's great to hear from the other side. We've only been involved in the making sure they get what they need. Julie McLaughlin has a question about what else do you need? So in addition to non-perishable food items, we can always use, our agencies can always use new socks, mitts, hats. I know Rhonda and St. Vincent de Paul are all looking for those. We are going to do a community donation drive, and Mandy will put up the link in the chat box where you can go, and that links you to what kinds of things people are needing, including what kind of food products to donate, what kind of food to clothes to donate, that kind of thing, what the need is.
Vanderwerts used to be such a good place to buy those things. It's so sad.
It is, yeah. Lisa's asked about what we mean when we ask for hygiene products. So that would be things like hygiene products, like Tampon Tuesday type things. It could be toilet paper. It could be toothpaste, shampoo. Our shelters can always use those. And I know Lionhearts distributes a lot of those products as well. Sean, do you want to mention anything else that I've missed?
Simple things like toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, those kinds of things are invaluable as well. We've had some really great donations from a couple of dental offices over the last little bit. So that actually came in just in time for us to pack. I think it was almost 1,100 hygiene packs this last little bit. So yeah, any of those things that you can think of that you would need on a daily basis, definitely something that's useful.
I would just add feminine products as well are always in demand here. Ladies are quite comfortable asking for things like that, and we're happy to have them to pass out.
And probably deodorant, I would think.
Yeah, and socks and boots are always, especially large-sized clothing. So if you know someone who has large clothing that maybe they've lost weight or just don't use anymore, we can definitely use large sized coats, and someone's actually looking for a 5X coat and we haven't been able to find one for them. Boots are always handy, socks, things like that are always useful.
And ladies, it seems to be that we like to clear our closets out on a regular basis, and so donations tend to be more for female gender, but there is a great need for clothing and footwear, especially for men. So if your husbands or your sons or friends have things they'd like to let go of, we'd love to have them for our donation drive.
Catherine, did you have a question?
Well, it's not exactly a question, but one of this was wonderful. I thought that all of the speakers were wonderful, and I love the way, Sean, at the very beginning, you put food sustainability into a broader context, because often when we think of all of these organizations, we don't necessarily think about homelessness and mental health. And I thought it was superbly done and really important. And for me, this just broadens the whole issue, and it was wonderful. Thank you.
It's Sheila. I put a note on the chat, but I really love the idea of having a centralized coordination. Pavna, that initiative I think is wonderful, because there's so much good work going on. There's so many great organizations, so many volunteers. Something maybe centralized could even make it better, I think, just to make it a more efficient and gain more with less, maybe. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you. We'll make it happen. I know we've got Sean at the table, Helen, all the food providers, so it's going to happen. And I believe Lanny brought it up at City Council yesterday. So
excellent.
We're in this together. Any questions, comments?
Just thank you.
Thank you. So I'll turn it back to Jane, but I just wanted to thank all the women who make up Women United. I'm not sure if we mentioned at the start, but together Women United last year raised over $1 million, $1.1 million in fact. That's a really powerful number for women in our community who donate $1,200 or more coming together. So that's huge and I cannot thank you enough. It's been amazing. With that, I'll turn it back to Jane.
Thanks, Pavna. I'm just going to echo really what Pavna has already said in terms of thanking each of you for participating tonight and for being a part of this group. It's what keeps me coming back, definitely. And each of the speakers today talked about the need in our community being greater this year. And I think that each of us knows that. And so thank you for being a part of Women United and for making it so enjoyable and for showing up and being a part of our community. Thank you to the speakers as well. Thanks, Pavna and the United Way. We're touchdown next Thursday. So as Angie said, we're almost there, but we're not quite there yet. So yeah, still another week and a half to go. Thanks all. Have a good night. Be safe.
Thank you, Jane.